Hi folks, so two thoughts I'd like to share. The one is really how, for many of us, we were given a way, imprinted upon us a way to see ourselves or perceive ourselves, all right, from childhood. Like, not only did we try and adjust to the image that the world wanted us to adjust to, the external world, but we also had an internal image of ourselves or perspective on ourselves that was imprinted on us. To see, for example, yourself as being worthy or unworthy, right? Likable or unlikable, okay? And valuable or non-valuable, okay? Valueless, or something like that. And so this was humdrummed. I mean, this is drummed into us, and we carry this perspective, this narrow perspective of ourselves. All right, that it's a way of seeing, I would say, ourselves that is very narrow perspective, and generally not in a positive light. Okay, and that we wake up with that vision, that way of seeing in the morning, in our waking moments, and etc., throughout the day. It is there by default, all right? And it's generally a very critical analysis of ourselves, right? And it's hard to put into words. It's a way of seeing, but there's also there's a narration that goes on with the way that we see ourselves, okay? In regards to this, let's say in this case, not in such a valuable light. And for myself, I'll give an example. Like, I'll do a recording and I'm pretty chuffed with the recording. I'm pretty happy with it. But then I start thinking about all the things that I could have said and all the words that I should have used, and it plays through my mind. And maybe half an hour after doing the talk, I just think, from what turned into what I thought was such a good talk and solid talk, turned to be very, average, very riddled with contradiction. I didn't say what I want to say. I mumbled a lot. The key points I really didn't focus on enough or get deep into enough. I sort of, skimmed around the surface of what I was trying to say, and before I know it, it's like, again, there's nothing. It's not even a talk that I'm going to even upload, and that's what goes through my mind. And this happens, I think, for myself on many levels throughout the day, whereby I'll see how, let's say I did, I don't know, let's say 5 out of 6 of the chores that I needed to do, and I didn't do that one chore, and I'll be like, why didn't I do that? And I don't get things done, and I'm not very efficient, and I should have put more effort. But I don't see the 5 other chores that I did get done. I don't see where I did excel, where I was well achieved, where I also tried pretty hard. And in our own lives, that's what I'm saying. A lot of the time, we don't realize, again, how much effort we have put into ourselves, into growth, into truth, into love, into beauty, etc., into honesty, authenticity. Like, we do not realize, we do not take into the bigger picture. Again, I'm going to talk similar to this, into the bigger picture of what is our fundamental, not state of being, but with our intentions. What have our intentions been, right, for a long time? I mean, have there been with good intentions or bad intentions? And what I'm saying is that, and even though we've done incredible work, we've, been very creative, very imaginative, very supportive, very loving, right, for ourselves and for others, and again, we've impacted other people's lives that we don't even know how, but we don't even take the time to think about. And heaven forbid we actually think of ourselves as quite amazing. Heaven forbid you might actually see yourself as really, and great, really great, really a hero, really something of real great substance, really something amazing, somebody that you of such valor and value and credibility and nobility. I mean, heaven forbid we should see ourselves, because then you're being grandiose, and we're not being grandiose. And I'm not talking, and there's also humility in it at the same time. But at the same time, to have a healthy image of oneself. Okay, and so again, what I'm saying is that what we do is that we cherry pick our faults and the places where we could have done better, and not in a constructive manner. You see, not in a constructive manner. Like, I was having a conversation with my aunt the other day, and I mean, she's really a wonderful person, but 9 out of 10 times she just thinks, she's a buffoon. She just really thinks she's, I don't know, weak. She's just senseless, mindless. She can't string a sentence together. She's useless a lot of the time. She really feels this about herself, and then we'll have a conversation, and I'll remind her over the years of her efforts, right, and her endeavors and her intentions, and I remind her of who she is, and she says, yes, that is true. That is who I really am and what I am about. And yes, I've got my flaws and my shortcomings and my blind spots, and I could do better here, but generally, over and above everything, I can be pretty impressed with myself. I can be, and then she starts thinking, but then why do I give myself such a hard time? Why do 95% of the time I feel inadequate, right? I feel useless. I feel incapable, whatever it might be, irresponsible, overly naive, ignorant, and why do obviously also her situation reflects to her, and again, culture and society reflects to us that we're nobody special, right? And so that's a strong message from culture and society and one's social surroundings often at the time, is that you're nothing special, right? And so that's one thing. But another thing is that for herself, the inner critic, the way that my aunt sees herself and the way that I see myself, is 95% not in good favor. Not in good spirit, okay? And how tiresome this actually is, this to exist this way, how depleting it is, how frustrating it is. I mean, I know for myself that I would give so much more love and support, right, and applause to somebody, if that was doing what I was doing, or somebody who was like me. I would really feel honored to know them, and I would really go out of my way to inform them just how I admire them. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I see people that are conscious, that are trying, that are good intention, good spirited people, courageous, when I see them, I'm in love with them. Just having some coffee here. I'm inspired by them. I adore them, and I congratulate them. Like, yes, so much courage, so much commitment, so much conviction, so much spirit in you, my man or my woman. So much. And for myself, I do that very little. I barely do that any of the time. I can save it all for everybody else, in that sense of other people that I admire. I mean, there's very few that I admire, but many that I don't. But I can say, but for myself, right? Again, so what I'm doing is I'm carrying around this way of seeing myself that 95% of the time is not in good spirit and not in good favor. Okay? And it seeks, this way of seeing seeks opportunities to be unfavorable to me. Okay? When I've went to the shopping mall and I forgot to buy, I don't know, tin foil, and I get home, but I managed to buy everything else, and I give myself a hard time, and sometimes it's necessary, but sometimes I've got to say, well, look, you had a really tough day, right? And also that idiot, I don't know, person phoned you and they insisted on talking to you about serious matters, and you couldn't contact while you're in the shopping center. I don't know, and they were burdening you, and you couldn't get off the phone to them. They needed you or something like that, and you weren't concentrating. And so, okay, fine. Next time you can be, more vigilant. You can be more mindful. You can, better control the situation. Don't lose yourself. Okay, I can say that, but I don't. I take the approach of like, oh man, look at you. I can do that even when I sort of think, I drive into a parking lot and the parking looks pretty full, and I say, look, I know I'm not going to get anywhere close to the entrance of the shopping mall or something like that, and I know I'm going to be carrying, like, I bought a heavy fan. This has actually happened to me yesterday. I bought one of these super duper fans. I mean, it's hard to buy just a normal fan these days, but anyways, I live in a very hot climate and no aircon, so I thought I would treat myself. And so instead of parking closer to the thing and saying, okay, let me look for parking, I just took a further parking, and I parked. I get out the car and I see that there was a closer parking available, and I thought, oh man, look here, if you had just tried, if you didn't think that there was no other parking, if you just took the chance, you would have gotten to this parking. And so fine, I go in, I buy the fan, and I forget to take a trolley because I'm just not, I'm not happy in the shopping. I pick up the fan, and it's a big box, and it's not that heavy, and I think it's not a big deal, I can carry it. But now I'm waiting in this queue to pay for the fan, and it must be a 10-minute queue, so I'm just putting it on the floor because it's too heavy. Then I pick it up. Well, it's not heavy, but it's inconvenience, the box, the shape of the box. And every time I have to pick up the box and move it forward, while the queue moves forward, I like sort of, you should have got a trolley. Oh, you're going to have to carry it all the way to the car. You should have parked closer. Like, what? What were you thinking? Why weren't you thinking this? Why didn't you get all your ducks in a row? Type of thing. And then there I am, so I get to the teller and I pay and I pick it up, and I'm all awkward, and I get to the security, because here in South Africa they got to check that you haven't stolen anything from the shop and that your item matches your receipt. So then I'm like having to give them the receipt, put the box down again, my back is breaking now. I'm just okay, and then again I hit myself even harder on it. And so not giving myself, this is just a poor example, but not giving myself really space to breathe. Okay, and that's an example. Not really, like if I was walking with myself, a separate person, or this was happening to somebody and I saw them, and I'd say, listen, man, like, just, it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. You can't think of everything, especially nowadays with all that's going on. You can't think of everything. It's just impossible, right? And just don't give yourself a hard time. And so that's something more minor, but sometimes there are things that are much bigger, right? Some things that are much bigger that I only learned in hindsight, right? Where I employed somebody and I didn't trust my gut, or I felt sorry for them, let's say, and then I employed them, and now, I felt that they were stealing from me and I can't get rid of them, and, something like that. And I'm like, oh man, what were you thinking? And, so again, and this problem for myself came from my upbringing. I felt with my father there was no mistakes allowed. I remember when I used to occasionally do homework with him, it was the most scariest thing I could have probably come across in my childhood. One of the scariest things was doing homework with my father. And I remember I was doing maths one night and I was so nervous. My hand was shaking with the pen and I was coughing. I had a nervous cough, and he's like, what's wrong with you? Pull yourself together. Because I know that if I made a mistake, he's like, come on. This is so simple. You're wasting my time here. In my father's eyes, there was no mistakes. And it's amazing. I kind of work with my father somewhat in business, not too much, but he points out every mistake that I make. And very, very seldom he actually gives me any credit for my achievements or my successes or something like that. Barely any, not that I can even recall. right? But I'm saying he'll pick out things, and not only that, but in his business, because it's similar businesses that we have, right? He makes the same mistakes that I do, but when he points out to me how, because not only that the mistakes I make, but how inefficient I am, he tells me that my staff are robbing from me, that don't know how to do the cash up reports, I don't know how to do the stock takes, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I think that's been his attitude towards me for my whole life. Whenever I've managed to get some money, or through his business he's given me some money or some from whatever, he's like, because I told him about an app that I was thinking of, an idea for an app, and it cost, I don't know, 100,000 rand. He says, "You spent 100,000?" I said, "No." He says, "Oh, you did, you wasted all your money." I said, "I didn't spend it." I said, I'm just telling you as a conversation, He's so insecure about me. Right? And that's his own projection. So insecure about me. You can say maybe he's trying to protect me, he loves me. I say, nah. That's his own shadow work that he needs to work on in himself. Right? Which is something else. But so anyway, so I can sit with him, and it's grueling. I try not to tell him anything about my business, and I ask him questions about his own. Then he'll ask me questions, and I'm like, please, I don't even know how to answer you. I don't want to go there. And if I say to him, look, I don't want to discuss it with you, he'll be like, why not? I said, because, I think you're very highly critical of what I do, and I can't seem to do anything. I was like, no, that's not true. Come now, that's not true. I'm just looking out for your best interest, my boy. Seriously, that's his attitude. So, for myself, I've inherited this image from my father about that I can't afford to make any mistakes. Right? And I can't afford to even really try, because again, even when in my efforts, they're in vain and they're fruitless, and don't even bother. Yeah, you're a failure before you even started. And that's how we were raised. That either you're a winner or you're a failure. There was no room in between. No room in between. And so again, his mistakes and his failures were never spoken about. He never came down honestly and said, "No, I'm human too, my son. I'm human too, and I make." So no, there's no room for mistakes in what you do. And so again, also no real credit, no like, wow, job done, well done on anything in my childhood. So can you see how for myself, how this is carried with me now, that whatever I'm kind of doing, no matter how many videos I've made on YouTube, no matter how many people's lives I've touched, right? No matter how much courage I have by facing my fears, by how much growth I have made, to some degree, the voice in my head, the way of seeing myself is all in vain. It's all for nothing. It's all for nothing, and so that's a lot of the time how I live. So I feel depleted. I feel depleted a lot of the time, and so thank goodness I've got it to a degree where my depletion was more self-harming, where I felt so depleted, I felt so useless. All right, that I don't self-harm. I have very few addictions. I mean, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I have a glass of wine before I go to bed sometimes. I don't overeat, right? I'm not disciplined with exercise, whatever it is, but I don't self-harm the way that I used to. And I don't feel sorry for myself the way that I used to. And I feel that it's evidential for me, but there's many things. Like now, for example, I mean, just small things. I'm recording this on my cell phone, and it's leaning on my laptop, and my laptop's fan was going, and it just switched off now a few moments ago. Maybe you heard her on the microphone or on the recording. I think to myself, oh, I never thought about that. Now maybe I've ruined the whole recording. I mean, there is a brief moment where that thought comes in, okay? But then I can correct it and say, you know what? Next time, just make sure that the fan is off, because I know it's noisy. I mean, it can be noisy, and whatever it is. When I look back at my videos that I did a long time ago, and I put music in the background to my videos, and I do that because it just inspires it a little bit. And sometimes I put wrong music, in the past, and even sometimes these days, sometimes it's too loud. And I just think, oh, this is so embarrassing, you know? And I listen, it's still up there, people can still listen to it, and I think, oh, well, what can you do? I mean, when I've done that with my Manly P Hall videos or Terence McKenna, people are like, you're such a moron, you know, an idiot, putting this kind of music, new age, you know, whatever bullshit, I don't know, disrespectful to Manly P Hall's message. And, you know, they call me words like, you know, like horrible, insulting, and, you know, and I don't care anymore. That's what I'm saying, I don't care anymore. But that's besides the point. So, again, I'm not looking for my father's approval. I'm not looking for him to say job well done, right? Because it doesn't count from him. I mean, when people leave comments on my videos that are just thanking me for helping them on their journey, I'm just absolutely blown away. I'm so touched by it. And you know what? I'm allowing it to register and sink in and sit with me, not to be like, oh, you know, maybe they want something from me. Maybe they're just trying to be nice. Maybe they, I don't know, very light and love, and you know, they don't see any of my negative qualities, so they don't even know who I really am. So I'm not going to do that anymore. You know, I'm not going to negate. I don't think it's a word. You see, again, I think often I use the wrong words. You know, and I make up words in my talks, and whatever it is, and I just need to have more space and you know, time with, and you know, patience with myself, and more love with myself, and change the way of seeing. And again, it takes real kahunas, it takes real guts and balls and cheek, you know, to actually see yourself as special and great, right? It actually, I mean, it's easier to see yourself as pathetic and useless than it is to see yourself as great and not divine because you're divine because of your association to divinity, but in your efforts alone, right? To see yourself as courageous. See yourself as courageous. I mean, it's hard to bear. That's hard to, you know, I mean, to really honor that, to really walk with that. To really say that I have something inside, and you know, it can just flow, it just keeps on flowing. It's something that's so, you know, my courage, my beauty, my love, my integrity, my nobility, my humility, my gift, my blessing, whatever it is, my authenticity, right? It can flow, it just keeps flowing, just flows, unstoppable at times, right? And we must understand the wealth that lies within us and that we are about. And again, not because of association to divinity and because, well, you're a soul by default, so it's all cool. And no, I'm saying by your efforts, by your intentions, right? By this, by your life story. Okay. Anyways, I can't get into point number 2. It's something actually rather different and unrelated. So I suppose I'll just leave that for now. And also, one more thing is that one of the things about consciousness is that, and firstly, you learn in hindsight. I did a talk on this before, but like what I'm saying is that to certain degrees you're unconscious and you're going to make decisions that are going to be long term. And then you're going to become conscious of the decision that you made, and you're going to be able to also, through experience, realize that it might not have been the right decision to make. That at the time, but you've got to appreciate that at the time you didn't have enough information, you didn't have enough experience about that situation, right? And because it's very, very difficult when you're working with consciousness, when you realize like how unconscious you were at that time, how you can beat yourself up about it, and how you can not trust yourself any further to make many decisions because you're like, well, I'm unconscious now, I can't see all the angles, you know. So instead of doing that, say, okay, I didn't see all the angles, I didn't see the long-term effect, and I had no one guiding me, I had no experience on it, whatever it is, I took a leap, it didn't work out, but what did work out was I found a way that now that I'm more conscious that I won't repeat that kind of choice or decision in the future, right? And so I've got to bear that in mind as well, because as conscious people, it really bothers us, I find, when we're unconscious and when we're mindless. But you know what? That's just the way it is, and that's just part and parcel of this process of growth. All right, folks. Appreciate you taking the time. Chat soon.